Thank you so much for being here. Please join me in welcoming Erin Belieu.
This is like a GRE question. Okay, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do that. Is that good? Thank you for helping me. I do notice that you finally moved the lamps to the middle over here as opposed to like over here where it was before. KGB is by far my favorite reading series in the history of ever. Whatever reading series have existed are pale to KGB because the vibe is so good and the people who run it are filled with spirit and generosity. And thank you to all. And that was a beautiful, interesting, meaningful introduction. I really appreciated it. So thank you, KGB, for inviting us. This is basically Kevin, Adrian, and me coming up with this scam to basically our birthdays are right in a row, and so we were just like, will they take us so that we can like go hang out in New York for our
Birthdays!
Yes, celebrate the birthdays. Adrian is a Virgo, but we count him anyway. So I'm just going to read briefly because there are three of us. I know you want a 2.5-hour reading,
Yes,
but
yes,
we're going to actually not do that. So I'm just going to read one poem from Come Hither, which is my last book, and then because this is a family feeling to me, I think I've read at KGB since like 1990. I think I've read here like 10 or 15 times, and it sort of feels like home to me in certain ways, or at least home in New York. And so I'm going to try out some new poems on you. And but first I'm going to read this very odd little poem, which is called In Which a Therapist Asks for the Gargoyle Who Sits on My Chest. And the backstory of this is that Dana Levin's sister, Dana Levin was a wonderful poet, her sister is a therapist. And I started working with her because I was feeling really, really blocked. And she conjured my gargoyle for me. I know this is all sounding very like hippie bullshit, but like it was very profound. And that also happened around the time that I discovered my birth family, because like Ancestry.com and all of these things have sort of unleashed the DNA world on everyone. And so I discovered my birth family is from O'Neill, Nebraska, which is the Irish Catholic St. Patrick's Day capital of the world. So all the weird stuff about O'Neill, Nebraska in here is coming from that place. You're going to know more about O'Neill, Nebraska when you're done than you ever thought you would. So this is called In Which a Therapist Asks for the Gargoyle Who Sits on My Chest. Better say first, the gargoyle she's requested, I doubt he'll appear. A fragrant character at most, he's so wily and hard to woo, and God knows I'm terrible at therapy. The pushy box of tissues and kindly on-the-clock neutrality. It's exhausting how the whole's designed to scrub our greasy pan of sorrows to a gleam in which we've actually paid to see ourselves. Caveat emptor? Oh, verily. To talk and talk like this is what our age calls progress. That peculiar human rage for moving forward, like tourists walking off of cliffs while taking selfies. But since I've come to talk, where I'm urged to use my similes, it's apt to say I feel most like a Fenian incursion, the third botched skirmish specifically. God bless the Irish, those poets, for thinking they could hotwire Canada, then sell it to the British. Though this makes perfect sense to me, another unsurprising outcome of an ill-considered plot, conjured awkward in a haystack near a town namesaked for that rebellion's leader, one John O'Neill. A man with such a gift for losing, he finally thought he'd really rather not die trying and proving therapeutically it's best to recognize your limits. Charged with speaking honestly, I'll confide I think it's late for custom order hindsight, or rigged stories spat into our mouths when we were only infants by the one bitchy fairy not invited to the party. What patterns there might be emerged, Cassandra style, with inner portents left for me to sort, then artfully ignore for half a century. Maybe that's the weight we grown-ups mule, being untranslated books the book club never votes to read. It's measured heavy as the Eastern Island glyphs of Rongo Rongo, a mystery bitten into wood by ancient shark teeth. Maybe it's enough to recognize ourselves unsolvable, half trash, half glitter bomb, dropped along the trench by dying stars. The French say, who can say? And since they basically invented what we know of dread and food and love, this seems a likely place to make like Ginger Rogers, forever waltzing backward down the stairs, partnered with a man who never liked her, that feathered, practiced creature bleeding in her heels. Her steps, not what I'd call the act of any faith, but more a process of elimination, until she finds the bottom, searching for her mark, while spinning toward the promised spots of light. If you want to have a party on St. Patrick's Day, you should go to O'Neill, Nebraska. And also to find out that you were conceived in a haystack. That's a lot of
Was that from Ancestry.com? Or?
They know that.
They have pictures. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I both own that and I'm a little disappointed. You know what I mean? It seems a little on the nose, actually. And so the next poem, how much time have I spent? The next poem is, I was thinking about writing an autumnal and thinking about the kind of old school notion of the autumnal and what the autumnal does. And as a Libra September baby, I'm sort of always attracted to the autumnal. But this is my version of the autumnal, which is a very contemporary take on a very kind of old school lyric notion. So this is called Late Autumnal with Cockroach. Morning thick with inscrutable dinge, another season drained. I'm watching the pest control man fill the rat bait station, black attaché of poison hidden in the hedge. And while I pay a monthly bill for him to do my killing, still it seems miraculous how much insists on surviving despite us. What grinds it out, what hustles simply to continue. Like this plumply enormous roach, its carapace the molten brown of topaz, tooled cannily to fold into a ceaseless package. Look at it now collapsing to fit exactly between my deck's wooden slats. No matter what unspeakable agents we devise for it to carry to its nest, there comes a calm in knowing there will always be an awful, inexorable more of something other than us to crawl or slither, gnaw and be gnawed. A peaceful certainty of moreness creeping through our filth to greet what's coming soon. Unloved, ingenious creatures, the few truly diligent, whom we can never drive off or annihilate completely. This poem remembers you, waiting in our unplugged cracks and fuming sewers, seeing the relentless engines you've willed yourselves to be, the valor of your tidy and despised machinery. White break.
Feel a little far. that.
Here we go. Little Parch. And this is another poem that's recent that I've never read out loud. And it was based on a thing I read somewhere seemingly reputable about attitudes that the wealthy have about their lives. And so I was very interested in this. And this poem is called According to the Study. According to the study, the rich report greater levels of happiness. And the study goes on to demonstrate how we humans use money to save ourselves, first from starving, then danger, and finally from our neighbors. The rich solving so thoroughly for the stinks and noise of other stinky, noisy people. Granted, my research is anecdotal, but calls to mind the subtle shadows inside the Spanish word aislar, meaning both to insulate and isolate. I've known the rich and gladly tap danced for their parties, double-fisted at their open bars, gorged myself in paneled corners on blue crab puffs, content to be rented for those hours, performing a toothlessly arty tone. I've studied them and coveted, glued my invisible price tags to their Hermes and Baccarat, smiled as the servant's door banged repeatedly against an original Renoir. My personal findings reveal their Wi-Fi doesn't work either. So old or new, in the flavor of their aloneliness, the rich are pretty much the same. But unlike the surplus population, they need a solitude specially made, designed to be airy, capacious, with hand-blown acoustics to amplify their silences. From Watermill to Malibu, observe their fortresses steeled above the beachfront, how their fences each year appear a little steeper while still sinking farther into the swale. Imagine the comforts of the rich, the repose in knowing we all die alone, but to do so with such enviable lighting and desirably peopleless views. And I'm going to finish with a poem so fresh it makes me very nervous. But I have a client, so my hands will not shake. So do some of you know about this? I know some people in the room, I know Maya, and some people, there's this Taylor Swift anthology, Invisible Strings.
I wish you hadn't said my name right after Taylor Swift.
I said it in the right order. And so there's this Taylor Swift anthology that's like apparently ready for pre-order now, and I was sort of like, and then I looked at the table of contents and I was like, oh, okay, right? I was like, there's a lot of people.
Name some names.
Maya Popa is one of them. Yusef Komunyakaa, right?
Like a huge Taylor Swift fan over
Yeah, I think everyone knows Yusef is a huge Swiftie. But it was just really interesting that there were all these poets who did actually find this prompt, because what we were asked to do was basically take a Taylor Swift song and we got to choose it and figure out where our jumping off point was going to be and how we were going to embroider it, and I just thought it was actually really interesting. I don't know a lot of Taylor Swift music because everything after Nirvana is just kind of a blur between Funkadelic and Nirvana. Like that's it for me. But there was one song that meant a lot to Jude, my son Jude, when he was a little boy, which is the song "Mean." And so that was kind of the song that I was trying to like leap off of. And of course, anybody here who has kids, when you try to write a poem at your kid, the muses are like, no. So it sort of ended up going a different direction. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to traumatize any 14-year-old Swifties who might buy it. So, fingers crossed. So this is my poem for that anthology, which is called Cockleburr. And it's my last poem, so thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to hearing you guys read shortly. Cockleburr. Summer over. Thorns invaded the playground while we were gone. Everybody got taller, the measure of meaner. Kids end up bloody, but the system won't pay to spray. This is the year the boys first wait for us inside the trees at the field's farthest corner. This is the year the girls stop running. Insipid tribe, now we flutter near the building's edge. Moms charged with minding aren't bothered, smoking outside the preschool door. They think they survived, and we will too. Cockleburrs riddle the grass. We squat on hot tarmac, braiding each other's hair, learning to be patient with our boredom, learning why poison is a woman's best weapon. We never quite decide on the story. What is it that found her? What took her to the loneliest part of the field? And what were her crimes? She was poor, or not the right kind of pretty, or she wore a red miniskirt that showed her ass. But I'm thinking of last year's sleepover, when she told us how her stepdad scratches at her bedroom door, begging her to open up. A year younger than the others, I'm slow on the uptake, not cool like Kelly S. or Kelly M. I run my mouth, but I don't say much. The older girls are always threatening to beat me up, but I know what a whore is, or close enough. And I hear that scratch in the dark, know the creak in the hall. Whore. How good the word tastes when I put it in my mouth, angry as the wind when a blizzard digs in. Thank you.